The fifth largest company in the entire world, who has a $1.7 trillion market cap, is being forced by shareholders to run an assessment to see whether they should be putting Bitcoin on the balance sheet. You guys can see it here. This is the document that has broken Twitter literally 2 hours ago. This is brand new news, and I'm sure a lot of people are wondering, who is this company and why am I so interested because of all of the prior Bitcoin relations that this company has, okay? Let me remind you, the CEO of this company we're discussing today was pictured on Michael Saylor's yacht in December 2023. And if you thought that was interesting, let's not forget Amazon. Of course, we're talking about Amazon. The CEO of Amazon has actually sold billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars worth of stock in the past 1 year since, surprise, surprise, when Mr. 100, that mysterious Bitcoin whale, has accumulated around 7 billion Bitcoin, $7 billion worth of Bitcoin. Do you think it's a coincidence that Jeff Bezos has sold about $8.5 billion worth of Amazon stock since late 2023, literally months before he was spotted on Michael Saylor's yacht? Guys, there's a lot more to this Amazon story than meets the eye. Let's start with the news. Let's start with what has dropped on Twitter literally moments ago, okay? This is such interesting news. I haven't seen anyone cover it. So I canceled the other live stream I was originally planning on doing today for you guys and pushed that to tomorrow so we could cover this. We can see in the big red box here something really interesting. The shareholders of Amazon are requesting that the board conduct an assessment to determine if adding Bitcoin to the company's treasury is in the long-term interests of shareholders. Now, this is interesting because in literally 2 days, the exact same thing is happening at Microsoft. Remember, Michael Saylor just gave that 3-minute speech over on, he gave it to the board of Microsoft. Everybody saw that 3-minute speech. Saylor went through something like 52 slides in 3 minutes. Okay, and now, not only is the third largest company in the world being forced to consider and make a decision on Bitcoin in 2 days' time on Tuesday, we now have the board of the fifth largest company also being forced to investigate Bitcoin. This is why I 100% agree with what Knox Bill has said in the chat. 2025 is going to be a wild year. Okay, every single big company around the world is investigating Bitcoin. Again, let's not forget Tesla. Another one of these absolute giants that we're going to be discussing and talking about today obviously owns Bitcoin. And we can see, if we start looking at the biggest companies around the world, we can see a pretty clear trend. Most of these guys now are in Bitcoin. Well, or they're being forced to discuss Bitcoin. Let's rein myself in just a little bit here. Let's make sure we're factual. We can see Apple, $3.4 trillion market cap. And we can see Amazon, the $1.9 trillion giant right now, could potentially be forced to study Bitcoin a little bit deeper than they might have otherwise wanted to. Now, let's get into these rumors of Jeff Bezos, because this isn't the first time that we've seen a little bit of, let's call it FOMO, or a little bit of an interesting Bitcoin connection at the world's fifth largest company, Amazon. We can see that a lot of people have kind of been speculating, who is this Mr. 100? Is Mr. 100 Jeff Bezos? He's actually everybody's favorite. A lot of people do think that Jeff Bezos could be Mr. 100. So who is Mr. 100? Well, some incredible analysts who I respect think that Mr. 100 is an Upbit exchange wallet. Now, I think it's interesting, and I think there's some good data to show that whoever Mr. 100 is, they are tied to Upbit. Now, for me, I'm undecided on this. So I always like to represent both sides of the story. But what we do know for certain is that whoever Mr. 100 is, they are tied to Upbit. So let's have a look at how much Bitcoin Mr. 100 owns. They own about $6 billion worth of Bitcoin right now. We can see they've got about 60,000 Bitcoin on their balance sheet, which, guys, is honestly huge when we really start thinking about how much 60,000 Bitcoin is. Let's jump on over to the largest corporations and their Bitcoin holdings. We can see MicroStrategy holds 400,000 Bitcoin. And again, there's 140 companies who hold Bitcoin on the balance sheet now. But look at the second biggest, 34,000 Bitcoin. Okay, so I've long reminded you guys that I believe we're going to see billionaire FOMO. I believe that we're going to see the largest corporations in the world be forced by MicroStrategy to adopt Bitcoin. Because again, MicroStrategy right now has one of the biggest treasuries in the entire world. Literally, 4 years ago, MicroStrategy literally had a $1 billion market cap. Now, they're not only an enormous, they're not only squatting on an enormous $80 billion market cap, but this is what I find really interesting. We can see when you compare MicroStrategy's treasury compared to the treasuries of some of the giants we're discussing today, we can see something very interesting. MicroStrategy is already ahead. Oh, no, they're not ahead of Amazon. Amazon's got $88 billion in their treasury. Have a look at Apple at the top, $156 billion. We have Alphabet, $93 billion. Then we have Microsoft, $78 billion. And what's interesting about this list is we can see Meta with $70 billion. What I find fascinating is Meta is the only company that has more money, more assets. This could be cash, stocks, bonds, debt. Meta has more cash, and they are the only company that has a CEO who could make a dramatic change and make a dramatic decision for that company's treasury because they own the majority of the voting rights. Okay, Mark Zuckerberg, from memory, holds something like 56 to 57% of the voting shares. So he is like a mini dictator in that company. Okay, that's, I suppose, an analogy that's the best I can think of here at 4 o'clock when I haven't had breakfast and operating off about 4 hours sleep. Jeff, who's his name? Zuckerberg. Zuckerberg has the ability to say, okay, we've got, how much money do we have at Meta? We have 70.9 billion. Zuckerberg has the ability to say, plow it all into Bitcoin. And he's the only CEO of the companies above MicroStrategy on this list here who have the ability to do that. And this is fascinating because my thesis has always been, since 2020, eventually we're going to see billionaire FOMO and corporation FOMO. Because again, I believe a lot of these billionaires, they're greedy people. They're looking at the net worths of their net worth compared to others. And they're saying, I want to stay richer than all of my buddies. Okay. I want to stay richer than Amazon, Tesla. Again, I think there's a lot of competition. Again, I think if you're one of the richest and most successful people in the world, I think it's natural to be competitive. It's not a knock on these guys. I just think they're competitive. And it makes sense that as MicroStrategy continues to climb this leaderboard, guess what happens? The only way that these mega tech giants can stay richer than MicroStrategy is if they buy more Bitcoin than MicroStrategy. Because again, the assumption, if Bitcoin continues appreciating value, I get it. It's an assumption. It might not. Might go down for 10 years. Bitcoin might go to zero. But if Bitcoin continues doing what it's done for 16 years, which is appreciate, make higher highs and higher lows, just like any technology does when it's been adopted, and continues to be the best performing asset in human history, the best performing asset of 2024, the best performing asset of 2023, the best performing asset since 2020. If Bitcoin continues the trend that it's on, these companies that have a higher market cap than MicroStrategy and the billionaires who have a higher net worth than Michael Saylor, their only option to stay richer than Michael Saylor is to buy more Bitcoin than Michael Saylor. And right now, the possibility of any company, any of these 58,000 public companies, any of the 2,500 billionaires, the possibility or the potential of doing that, it's running away from them. they might not be able to do it. We've showed you this chart. There's only one company with the correct structure of shares and voting power who is sitting on more cash than Michael Saylor, who can do what Saylor has done, and that is Meta. We do know that Mark Zuckerberg actually has a goat named Bitcoin. So there's obviously some interest here surrounding Bitcoin in Meta. So again, I don't want to rule it out yet, but I do really think that maybe, just maybe, MicroStrategy will become the world's richest company. And I do believe Michael Saylor has the potential to become the world's richest man. The potential. Being the largest Bitcoin holder in the entire world. Right now, that's my base case. And we are going to have to see the trend change for me to change my mind on that base case. Let's have a look at what Twitter's saying about this, because again, what I find fascinating is, I'm going to show you Twitter for a minute. When you actually look for Amazon on Twitter, have a look at everybody covering the breaking news. Everybody's talking. Let me make sure I'm sharing my screen. Okay, you guys can see that. Look at Twitter. Everybody's talking about Amazon and the document and the breaking news. This literally happened 2 hours ago, guys. This is huge. This is breaking, actually breaking. That's why I've got it in the title, not clickbait. This is breaking. I haven't seen anyone on YouTube talk about what we are talking about right now. Now, what I find fascinating is when you go over onto the mainstream news, Google. This is what I got returned when I searched for Amazon, when I was doing some research and prep for this show earlier today. Where's the articles talking about Amazon? Unless everybody's been duped into believing a fake document on Twitter, Google's lagging. The mainstream press cannot keep up with the decentralized web of information that is on Twitter. Boy, I would look really stupid if everybody's been duped into believing a fake press release from Amazon. But I think the point stands on its own. Absolutely everybody is talking about it. We can see Amazon's market cap. It's growing. Don't get me wrong. But it's certainly not growing at the rate that Michael Saylor's market cap has been growing at. I want to show you guys one of the most incredible charts in a moment here. This is just another, again, I was doing some digging, trying to find the exact amount of cash and assets that Amazon holds. And they do hold about that, 80 to 90 billion. Again, think about that, 80 to 90 billion. It's huge, absolutely huge. Now I want to show you why MicroStrategy has created the trend. Okay, again, this is just phenomenal when we think about it. MicroStrategy's market cap, before they implemented this Bitcoin strategy, it was literally we lost our microphone. I think we're back. I apologize about that, guys. I have my comments off. I believe I'm back. But this chart right here is the reason why absolutely everybody is right now being forced to FOMO into Bitcoin. Okay, it is absolutely undeniable. And this is because MicroStrategy has grown its market cap from $1 billion in 2020 to $92 billion. This is ridiculous. This is huge. This is massive. This is breaking. This genuinely is breaking. Saylor is breaking all of the models. Okay? Every single model that TradFi has about public companies, every single model that TradFi has about Bitcoin right now is absolutely being shattered. And you know what's incredible? We're going to talk a little bit more about this public corporate FOMO I believe we're seeing in a moment here. But we're watching the mainstream press be forced to admit they're wrong and apologize. This here is an article from the Financial Times. One of Bitcoin's longest standing haters and critics. You can see the title of the article, A Hodler's Apology. which is just absolutely incredible that now the Financial Times is being forced to apologize to Bitcoiners. We can see here at the very bottom of this article, we're sorry if at any moment over the past 14 years, you chose, based on our coverage, not to buy a thing whose number has gone up. It's nice when your number goes up. And we're sorry if you misunderstood our crypto cynicism to be a declaration of support for TradFi, because we hate that too. I mean, how salty is that? I love the image. This is just incredible. This is the real website of the Financial Times, which is just hilarious. It's honestly hilarious. And I think the world is being forced to admit that they are wrong and that Michael Saylor is the king. And he has really opened up a can of worms when it comes to TradFi and the 58,000 public companies. Buffett won't even look at Bitcoin until it hits $1 million. We have some interesting comments in the chat about the price of Bitcoin. Oof. Not going to lie, guys. Have a look at what I'm looking at. Bitcoin right now is at $100,000. And we have some comments talking about the price in the chat. I might circle back and hit all of the comments in the chat. It's a Sunday session, so we might turn this into a little bit of a party for you guys. There is 1,606 of you guys listening to the first YouTube live stream about Amazon. I believe we're the first. This news broke literally 2 to 3 hours ago. And I want to run some more numbers about just how many of these public companies can do what Michael Saylor's done. I've got some pretty shocking numbers, and I want to run into, all of them in a moment and do a full breakdown. Before we get there, I again just want to welcome and encourage anyone who might be a little bit new to Bitcoin to our show sponsor, and that is Caleb and Brown. If you guys are looking for somewhere to buy Bitcoin, and you are looking to kind of get your hand held along the way, I'd love to let you guys know about what Caleb and Brown is doing. They are a very unique option for retail and institutional investors to buy Bitcoin in a safe and secure way. I'm a big fan of what they're doing because they got a 7-year track record. They also have serviced over 30,000 clients. And again, they are going to give you guys personalized, high quality service with your own dedicated broker who you can get on the blower with, and you can email back and forward, ask them all the questions you need to ask them about, and get your Bitcoin bought in a secure and safe way. So again, check out the link down below in the description for Caleb and Brown. And once you've bought your Bitcoin, doesn't matter where you buy it. Doesn't matter if you go to Caleb and Brown or whether you use an exchange like Coinbase. I always encourage you guys, if you don't hold the keys to your Bitcoin, it's not your Bitcoin. So take self-custody, put that Bitcoin into a hardware wallet. And once you've done that, do not make the pivotal mistake that most people make with their Bitcoin self-custody. And that is by writing down their 12 or 24 word Bitcoin private keys or their Bitcoin backup words on something like this. Okay, there's probably many reasons why you don't want to be putting your Bitcoin backup words on a Spanish piece of paper. Shit could get a little bit confusing, so to say. But this right here, this is also not fireproof. This is not going to survive a flood. This is not going to survive your kids saying, oh, that looks, delicious. I might eat some of that. Okay. Again, I always encourage you guys to back up your Bitcoin generational wealth the way it should be backed up. And that is with these titanium plates that you can get from Stampseed. Again, they really are super beginner friendly. They are super easy to use. Okay, I showed you guys a video of producer Pam playing around with these plates. They're very easy to use, okay? If a 100-pound girl can stamp Bitcoin backup words into these titanium plates, absolutely anyone can. There's no excuses for you guys to be taking your Bitcoin self-custody a little bit more seriously. So again, I highly encourage you guys to check out what Stampseed is doing. I think they really do create a much needed product here in the space. And you guys can actually get a 15% discount if you use a promo code Luke15. That's also in the live chat and down below in the description. Now, question about Stamp Seed. Do you get the question about them at customs? Never. So I put these into like my checked baggage, but I've also taken these on a plane before. I mean, surprising. I mean these, they're metal. These are titanium, and I'm pretty sure I've taken these on a plane before. Let me think about that. I'm not sure, but I've definitely traveled with these puppies a lot, and I've never had any issues with these. I can't remember where I've taken it on the plane with me. That's what I mean, like as a bag that I carry myself. Da is playing a spicy game. There's no need to write it down if you just remember it. I memorized my C words in like an hour. Now, for me, I'm scared of trying to memorize my Bitcoin seed words because, well, I'm a forgetful guy. I've forgotten the password to a hardware wallet before in the past, and I was saved by my own stupidity and bad memory because I had my Bitcoin private keys backed up on here. I had my 24 words written down. So again, just know what you're getting into. If you are Amazon, I don't think the CEO of Amazon should be memorizing the Bitcoin or the backup phrases to Amazon's public wallet of Bitcoin. Okay, I do think solutions like Stamp Seed are what we should be looking into for that. Okay, so again, let's now talk about this corporate FOMO in a little bit more detail and run some numbers. I told you guys I wanted to run some numbers. I have some bullish numbers I want to run for you guys. Just got to find the right chart because everybody knows right now Michael Saylor holds 400,000 Bitcoin. And I told you guys, the billionaires and the public corporations, that's the target. To stay richer than Michael Saylor and to continue winning this game of wealth measuring and, I'll be careful what I call it, wealth measuring competitions between billionaires, you need to have more Bitcoin than Michael Saylor. We can see they're squatting on 400,000 Bitcoin. Now, what's interesting here is that there's only 2 million Bitcoin sitting on the exchanges. So how many of these billionaires and public corporations can buy more Bitcoin than Michael Saylor? My math says 5. And that's if they do it immediately today and Saylor stops being the psychopath that he is. Because I don't know if you guys saw something else that happened today. Something else very interesting happened today. Michael Saylor took to Twitter and he said something pretty interesting. I'm going to show you guys what Saylor said today. He said there's still too much blue on Saylor Tracker. So I don't know if you guys have been following this or not, but Michael tweets this out every single time he's about to buy a shit ton of Bitcoin. Excuse my French. Okay, if I scroll back on his official Twitter account timeline, these are the tweets for the millions of people who follow Michael. We can see here on December 1st, a possible blue-green imbalance on sailortracker.com, question mark. We can see what happened. The next day on December 2, MicroStrategy has acquired 15,000 Bitcoin for $1.5 billion. All right, he's certainly settling that imbalance, but Michael's doing this every single Bitcoin buy now. So on December 1st, he did it. Let's scroll back a little bit further. Oh, look at this. November 24th. We need more green dots on sailortracker.com. What happened the next day? On November 25th, Michael announced a 55,000 Bitcoin buy. $5 billion worth of Bitcoin. Again, I want you guys to think about how big that is. 55,000 Bitcoin. There's only 450 Bitcoin mined every day. One billionaire literally just bought 70 days worth of newly issued supply in one day. Okay, but Saylor didn't stop. Okay, you guys can see this is something he's been doing aggressively. Literally a week earlier, he took to Twitter and said something similar. We can see November 17th. I think Saylor Tracker needs even more green dots. What happened the next day? Yep, I bought 51,000 Bitcoin. This is incredible. He bought 100,000 coins, 106,000 coins in literally a space of 2 weeks. The dude's an animal, and there's no stopping him. I'm a betting man. I am a betting man. If I had to bet, I don't think any company is going to outpace Michael Saylor. He's already at 400,000 Bitcoin. He announced his plans of doing the 21-21 plan over 3 years by $42 billion of Bitcoin. I think he's going to complete those $42 billion of Bitcoin buys before the end of the year. I know it's bold. That's a huge claim. I really think it's a huge claim. But that's what's going to happen. I just don't think there's enough Bitcoin for the rest of the billionaires. Now, while we're talking about Bitcoin, this is the first live stream we've ever had 2,000 people tune in from Twitter and YouTube. So again, Satwise in the chat says, if we get over 100,000 likes, let's F with the YouTube algorithm. Let's F with the YouTube algorithm, and I'll promise not to say another F-bomb for the remainder of the stream. Actually, I can't promise anything. It's a Sunday sesh. It's 4:30 here. But we would appreciate a smashing of the like button from the 2,000 of you guys tuning in to get the breaking news from Amazon. Okay, again, I go live 5-6 times a week on this channel. Also 3 times a week on the bitcoinnews.com channel. So again, if you do enjoy the content, you can subscribe. I don't tell you guys to do that very often, but you can if you want. MicroStrategy has 402,000 Bitcoin. I genuinely think Meta is the only company who can buy more Bitcoin than MicroStrategy. And they're sleeping. Meta right now is sleeping. They are not being forced to run an assessment on Bitcoin like Amazon is today, which is pretty incredible. And I do think it's only a matter of time before we see MicroStrategy really get on this list here of the world's largest companies. It's only a matter of time. They're already up to $92 billion per coin. And as we can see from this article, the only article I could find on Google talking about this news 5 days ago, Apple, Microsoft, and Amazon are quietly positioning for crypto dominance. Here's why it matters. So Apple is stepping into a crypto Coinbase partnership. Again, this is huge. Nobody's talking about this. I was thinking about doing a video on this, but there's just been too many other bigger, more bullish news than this. Now let's break down this part here because this is what's more pertinent. Is that a word? This is what's more relevant to today's stream. Amazon's reportedly considering a $250 million Bitcoin purchase by the end of 2024. This speculation aligns with the updated FASB Accounting Standards Board rules that will take effect in December. So these big companies can now actually put Bitcoin on the balance sheet and be treated with fair value accounting. When the Bitcoin goes up in value, they can mark it as a gain instead of the current FASB rules, which are so pernicious and just so not fair. They are not fair, okay? We're about to get fair value accounting. Right now, if you have Bitcoin on the balance sheet, if it goes up in value, the Bitcoin, you technically have a gain, right? No, you're not allowed to say, hey, I've made money. My treasury's gone up. Right now, you only get penalized. So Bitcoin goes down in value, you get punished, even if you don't sell the Bitcoin. It's unfair accounting. But we can see here, Amazon's connection to crypto isn't new. The company previously purchased blockchain-related domain names like AmazonEthereum.org. Ugh. Shitcoining. If Amazon takes the leap, it could become the first FANG stock to publicly declare Bitcoin holdings. And then we can obviously see the Michael Saylor 3-minute pitch to the Microsoft board that we mentioned earlier in today's stream. Microsoft is also, as we can see, being forced to consider Bitcoin. I love this headline. Microsoft 5 trillion Bitcoin blueprint. Fascinating. The biggest companies in the world are being forced to consider Bitcoin, and I'm here for it. Again, we've been covering this news and speculation of Jeff Bezos for some time here. We can see this article from early 2024, February. This was 3 months after Bezos was spotted on the yacht with Michael Saylor, with his wife, Bezos's wife. We can see Bitcoin's billionaire club is Amazon's Jeff Bezos, the latest member. Now, my honest thoughts, yes, eventually Amazon will be forced to buy Bitcoin. I think the odds of it happening this cycle are growing exponentially. Escape the Matrix says, I'd say it's guaranteed to happen. I think it is guaranteed to happen as well. Every public company, even the 330 million companies all around the world, the private and the public and the small businesses, all of them will have Bitcoin on the balance sheet one day. The only question is timeline. Now, the probabilities, I think, of this happening this cycle are rising a lot. I think since Trump was elected, and especially this year, I think the odds of a big multi-trillion-dollar giant putting Bitcoin on the balance sheet are rising. If I had to put some odds on it in the next 12 months, so for the rest of this cycle, I would say it's maybe 20 to 30%. And if you had have asked me a year ago, I probably would have said it was 2 to 3%. So I would say the odds have increased by 10x in a year. And that's because we do have right now 130 public corporations with Bitcoin on the balance sheet. Look at how long I have to scroll to see all of these public companies with Bitcoin on the balance sheet. It is no longer ignorable. I mean, it is as clear as day. I'm going to try to get to all of the comments in the chat here. There's a lot of them. You guys, there's 2,186 of you guys tuning in today. '90s is the new low. It's bold. It's a bold call. Oi. Making a disaster over here. I apologize. Let me know how bad the audio is as well. Okay. I think we're going to see many pullbacks of 20%. Many, many pullbacks. You guys have no idea how violent these bull runs get. Like, I'm going to show you guys. I'll show you how violent these corrections get and what I expect to see happen. Bitcoin in a bull run gets pretty volatile. We can see in 2017 what happened. You saw 6 corrections bigger than 30% in the 2017 bull run. It's huge. Bitcoin rallied from 1K to 20K. People think, oh, those Bitcoiners are lucky. That was such an easy trade. Bitcoin went from 1,000 to 20,000 in 9 months. But they forget this chart here. Look at all of the volatility you saw along the way. Again, Bitcoiners are really not lucky. You have to be incredibly convicted to hold. Now, John, I'm telling you guys, they are likely buying, but no way in hell at 100K. Watch. There'll be a pullback down to 65K, 70K, then it explodes. Like I tell you guys all the time here on the channel, nobody knows where the price of Bitcoin is going to go in the short or the medium term. Again, I just showed you a chart showing that, look, I expect lots of 30% pullbacks, but there is no guarantee we see one now. No guarantee. Again, I don't know where the price of Bitcoin is going. I don't trade my Bitcoin. I just buy Bitcoin, I hold it, I don't touch it for 10 years. That's how everybody should be thinking about their Bitcoin. Escape the Matrix makes a great comment. They will be forced to buy Bitcoin. They have a fiduciary duty to do what's best for the stockholders, and holding Bitcoin on the balance sheet is the clear best thing for stockholders. Okay, there is no ifs or buts about it. You have to be buying Bitcoin. The world is going to have to be buying Bitcoin. Now, speaking about other companies who have to be buying Bitcoin, Microsoft will be hosting a discussion where they will be forced to make a decision. Oh, we got 2 Lukes. You don't want that. But in 2 days' time, Microsoft is going to be doing something very interesting. Now, to discuss that in a little bit more detail, I am going to be going live on the bitcoinnews.com YouTube channel in literally, how about you give me 30 minutes so I can have some food? Because I literally probably had 3 or 4 hours sleep today. Food poisoning. I probably had 8 cappuccinos, literally, just so I could have the energy to do this live stream for you guys today. So I hope you enjoyed it. There's 2,278 of you guys tuning in. We've never cracked 2,000 people tuning in from Twitter and YouTube. So welcome. We appreciate all of the support that you guys give us. If you do want more Bitcoin content and you can't wait the 30 minutes to 60 minutes to see the new video I'm going to be releasing on the bitcoinnews.com channel for that live stream, I'm going to put a link to another video after this live stream has finished. That's going to take you to another video we did earlier in the week looking at the attack that is going against Bitcoin in the 7th largest country, Italy. So I'm going to put a link to that video somewhere around there. And with all that said, guys, thank you so much to everyone who tuned in. I'll see you guys in another live.